we have to talk about FTX because apparently they grew revenue 1,000% during the crypto craze, according to leaked financials from CNBC. And I kind of feel like a lot of people were able to 1,000 times their revenue. However, some of us, including myself, were not able to keep all of that profit. But let's go ahead and cover some stats. I'm just being honest. Moonbag's down bad, NFT's down bad. We are going to make it WAGMI. So internal documents seen by CNBC reveal that FTX revenue grew more than 1,000% from 89 million to 1.02 billion in 2021. Operating income was 272 million, up from 14 million in 2022. Total net income of 388 million, up from just 17 million in 2020. And around 2/3 of revenue came from futures trading, while up to 16% came from spot trading. Make sure you guys are utilizing safe practices while trading, especially futures. The investor deck also shows that FTX brought in 270 million revenue during Q1 of 2022 and is on track to do roughly 1.1 billion in 2022. Documents show they had 2.5 billion cash at the end of 2021 and 27% margins, but it's still kind of unclear how they held up during Q2. Zach, go ahead.
Crazy to think about how young a company FTX is. I think we forget it, but this is a company that was started in 2019. I think FTX US has been around for less than 2 years. So first of all, you're starting from a pretty small number when you shoot up 1,000%. So they have that going for them. That's definitely to be stated. I mean, FTX is a remarkable story, right? They've grown into prominence. They rode the bull cycle exceedingly well, and I was seeing some of those numbers that were shared/leaked. I saw some interesting sort of behind the scenes speculation from one CoinDesk reporter about the CNBC reporter who, produced this story, happened to be in the Bahamas interviewing Sam Bankman-Fried the day prior to this being published. So maybe, just maybe, they're trying to leak this positive headline in CNBC to get a little goodwill out in the market there. But yeah, always interesting to see these headlines and always interesting to think about how the sausage gets made. But FTX, remains a remarkable story, remains a remarkable tale of getting their brand out there from from nothing to everywhere in seemingly 6 months flat. So big time bull market winner here. Can they do it in this year, in this climate? That number, I think, is the one that most people should be interested about. And now they have a benchmark against which to be compared. So we'll see what happens. Wendy, back to you.
Before I toss it over to Jen, they've got really, really, really good PR. The way it was released, the way the story was produced, very great PR. And this is why marketing is so important in the industry, because all it is just basic communication.
I love a good internal leak. We're not saying that's what happened, but Zach, when I read the story too, I was like, who leaked this? Who could want this out there? And thank you for that little tidbit. I thought it was interesting that FTX US accounted for less than 5% of revenue. I think it's an important piece of the story. We talk about regulations and sanctions so much in the space now, and it seems like they were really able to grow by all of those acquisitions. I think another thing that was interesting to me is the fact that they haven't had to let go of any of their workforce, right? When we saw all of these crypto companies letting people go, Sam Bankman-Fried came out and said, he actually went against investor advice to hire during the bull run and really was focused on embedding new employees into the company culture. I think that we don't talk about that enough in this space, that people are really what drives success in companies. And so often we talk about tech and, this promise of this wonderful world that we're working towards, and none of us know when we're getting there. But I think when you have people who have a mutual value exchange with a company, we see success stories like this. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of great nuggets in this report, and I love how you guys latched onto them leaking this document. It's probably what happened. 1,000% revenue is a great headline, but also look into the story itself, and you'll see that they've actually found new markets that the biggest competitors, Coinbase and Binance, have not tapped into as largely as they have in the past. FTX has gone out in a very saturated market, or what people thought was a saturated market, and they created a new dominant exchange that's up there. FTX, Coinbase, and Binance are probably the 3 exchanges that most people know about in crypto, or most people have an account with or in crypto, and most laymen who are not really involved in the industry probably know about those 3 different teams just based on marketing or based on interacting with crypto even a little bit. So props to them for figuring out those markets. The last thing that was interesting to me was the cash on hand. Going into a bear market, it's really important. So the $2.5 billion cash on hand, and that's only after $1 billion in revenue last year. I'm curious to know how they did that. Like, where does that cash come from? Did they buy some crypto assets, sell at the right time? We know that Alameda Research is an integral part of FTX. They're separate entities, but in the past they have been very linked. And Sam Bankman-Fried has been the CEO of both those at one point. So I'm curious to know more about like the corporate structure going to a bear market. We might have to get some more leaked financials to find out about that, however.